Hi guys, my name is David and welcome back to my channel. Today I am going to be talking about a book that I surprisingly enjoyed. I had a lot of fun with this book, and this is written by someone that watches my channel on a regular basis. Not entirely sure about the ins and outs about how I found out about this novel, but I did. And that novel being Immortalised in Ink by N.P. Hunt, or Nathan Hunt. This is a dark poetry collection, not horror, because it doesn't really just focus on blood, guts, and gore and violence and that stuff, but it focuses more on the darker side of life. So Nathan does have a channel, but he doesn't upload any videos on it. Which, if you're watching this, Nathan, which I'm talking about your book, so you should be watching it. You should definitely start a author/booktube channel. So this was already on my radar for stuff to actually read, and I was going to put it on my Kindle, but there were some issues with that. I couldn't put it on my Kindle, so I thought, okay, yes, you know what? It's really short. It's about 130 pages. So I thought, okay, I'll buy a physical copy. I didn't really know that it was dark poetry because it doesn't say anything on the cover apart from blood splatter, which that could mean like paint or a bit of the artistic design of the book. But when I was going through this, it was an absolute joy and pleasure to read it. And I'm not just saying that. I'm still getting my head around what poetry means and what certain poems mean, because unlike a linear storybook, you know what the point is, you know what the characters are going through, and you understand for the most part about what's happening. But with poetry, it's more cryptic. But I'm slowly but surely starting to maybe understand that it's not just about completely understanding it. It's more or less like a feeling that you get, like a connection that you get with the author and their soul and what they're trying to evoke emotionally. I don't know if I'm making sense, but that's as best as I can describe it. But I'm doing a poetry series where I do readings of dark poetry and horror poetry. So it's a learning process for me. When I was going through all these poems, most of them I really enjoyed. Yes, I didn't completely understand about what they were about, but I know what I like, and I liked most of these poems. There was a small handful that I either thought, okay, that's okay, or I didn't really care much for. And I also want to say to Nathan now, do not be hard on yourself as a person and as a creative writer, because when you go and actually open the book, it has like a praises section. And when Sean Hudson gives you praise, that's as much as I need to actually know to actually read this. I'm a big Sean Hudson fan. In fact, I have started reading Assassin by him. So I was probably inspired to read this purely because Sean gave this so much praise. Also, Nathan dedicated this to his mum, so massive thumbs up to anyone that dedicates their book to their mum. And this has a foreword, and at the back, I believe, yes, it does. It has a acknowledgement section as well as a about the author section. And there's Nathan's website as well, so I will have that link down below in case you want to check him out. So yeah, let's just go straight over to Nathan now, as he has sent me a clip, and he will be talking a little bit about himself as a writer and about this book in general.
Hi David and hello BookTube. I'm NP Hunt and I'm the author of Immortalised in Ink, a book of poetry. It's mainly a book of very dark poetry concerning things like depression and grief, although it does start off with a chapter about art and creativity, the writing process, things like that. And it ends with a chapter that's about recovery from depression. So it's bookended by more positive sort of things. It's more or less influenced by poets like Edgar Allan Poe, Emily Dickinson, John Donne, things like that. It came up in conversation with David because of his video about Sean Hudson and his Sean Hudson book collection. Sean Hudson and Keelan Patrick Burke both gave advanced blurbs for my book, as well as Nicholas Vince, who plays a part in the Hellraiser films, one of the reviewers from dreadcentral.com, who tend to review horror movies and horror books and things like that. Also a poet called Leishan Varys, who also writes very dark, visceral sort of poetry, and J.M. Rich, who's an American poet who covers things like depression, mental illness, addiction, and recovery, and things like that. When the book was being put together, I was actually able to get a couple of pieces of art to be included by two artists, one called Andy Hosegood. This is one of his pieces for the book. Hope you can see that. And the other one is Coral Davis, who also provided some really beautiful artwork for the book. So I'm very grateful to both of them for allowing me to include some of their work in the book. It's been really encouraging to get the advanced blurbs from Sean Hudson, Keelan Burke, and the other people that I mentioned there, and the feedback that I've got from fellow poets and from the people who've read the book have all been really encouraging, so that's been great. It was actually released towards the end of the first wave of the COVID-19 pandemic. Seeing how that situation was affecting people's mental health is something that I've been passionate about, because I've suffered from depression quite badly for my whole adult life, and it does seem to be something that's a bit of an underrepresented area in literature. Mental health in itself is obviously getting a lot more notice, and things do seem to be moving in the right direction as far as awareness, but it's something that can always do with a bit more of a spotlight being shone on it. In addition to the mixture of styles of poetry that feature in the book, I also try to cover quite a range of the different experiences of suffering from depression, whether it be the mental torment itself or how it affects relationships with other people. So there are things in there about friendship, about having a relationship with a loved one, and also about the general day-to-day struggles, as well as eventually, like I said, going into the final chapter, which is mainly dealing with recovery from depression. And there's flashes of hope here and there throughout the whole book, so it's not all really heavy going, although parts of it, like depression itself, are quite brutal and can probably be quite emotional for some people. But I do think that overall the book does have some good things to offer, whether it's kinship for people who feel like they may be alone in their struggles, or just those glimpses of hope that I've tried to put in throughout the book. Anyway, as you can probably tell, I'm pretty awkward on camera, and talking about myself and my work is a little bit strange. So I'm going to keep this brief and just say thank you, David, for giving me the opportunity to come on here and speak about my book. And I hope that it sounds interesting to at least a few of you. And I hope there's at least a couple of things in there, David, that you end up enjoying. Thanks very much.
Thank you, Nathan. You know what, when I was thinking about doing this video, I was thinking, what am I going to say? Because unlike any other storybook, there is a plot that you can discuss. But with a poetry collection, there is no plot, as it's like pretty much one and done type of thing. You read one poem and it finishes, and then you go on to the next thing and rinse and repeat. The way it flows is really good. It rhymes, which is nice, and it has a nice consistent flow and articulate way that he writes. You can feel his pain, and also I forgot to mention that this book focuses a lot on depression and mental health, which the author has expressed themselves that they have suffered in the past. So that is where the dark tone of this book lies. As I said, it's not just horror, it's the dark side of life. And know that There are aspects of this book that may upset people, that may trigger them. Be aware that when you read this, it does go into a lot of dark and disturbing places. And if I was to describe Nathan to you guys, he is our Edgar Allan Poe. That's how I would express Nathan. Yes, he's not up to that standard, obviously, and no one ever will. But because you can read all these dark poems and you can feel his pain and you can feel his emotions and his struggles within his current life and in his past life, you kind of get that connection as you go through. Again, hopefully I'm making sense, guys. So let's just go straight back to Nathan now, where he's got some extra special bonus material to insert here.
Okay, as a little bonus thing, I thought I'd read a couple of my poems to you. This is from the first section, which is about art, creativity, and tributes to some literary figures and things like that. This is a poem called Victor's Abomination, which is a poem which is a poetic retelling of Frankenstein. Born of curiosity and of arrogance and of sin, called abomination, oversized in failing skin, I have done the world no wrong, and I had never asked to live, yet the blame is all on me for the unwanted gifts you give. Only safe in hiding, seeking refuge from the cold, harsh frost, finding kinship in the worn-out pages of Milton's Paradise Lost, longing for some purpose and just wanting to belong, mistaken for a monster without the power to be strong. This Prometheus of modern times, but without the dedication, brought me into being, but was ashamed of his creation, abandoned me in fear, for he is both genius and a liar, inflicting life in spite of God, but denied the gift of fire. If you leave me cold and lonely, without family or faction, I'll rob you of your brethren and come to blackmail you to action. Tragedy becomes us because we came from tragic starts, from loss and grief and longing, from unions torn apart. We both are bound by oaths of blood to fight against all takers, because each of us is driven by the loss of our own makers. We will hunt each other down to seek redemption for the past, until defeating death and nature has destroyed us both at last. This is a poem called The Scratching, which is a poem about depression and its effects on the mind. It started as a scratching, which I could barely hear. I tried hard to ignore it, but it grew throughout the years. The scratching grew to whispers, but I could not see who spoke. The sound was like a noose, and as it closed on me, I choked. It only grew much louder as I fought to close my ears. I felt the breath upon my cheek, filling me with fear. I fought in fear to block it out, but the whisper raised its voice. It wailed and screamed and shouted until I had no choice. By then it was too late, and the creature had me fast, and now it says it owns me and my future and my past. It keeps itself in shadow, and I fear to see its shape. Attempts have proven futile, so now I don't try to escape. I even keep my eyes averted from the shadow that it casts, but avoidance doesn't save me, and its hold on me still lasts. So lastly, I'd just like to read a much more upbeat and uplifting poem. This is called As Only You Can. You're unique on the inside with something to give, a perspective or story to share or relive. An interest you always thought was quite useless might just be the thing to give your life purpose. A plant cannot grow until somebody seeds it, so share what you have because somebody needs it. Each talent a gift which someone somewhere will treasure, perhaps with a message or even just to bring pleasure. There is no cause greater than to entertain or to teach, or to move others to achieve what they believed they can't reach. All of these bring joy and hope and build up kindred spirits, so paint or sculpt or write or sketch or sing your homegrown lyrics. No failure is worse than the crime of not trying, so share hidden talents which your fear has been denying, and bring into the light whatever you've been hiding, because searching outside you reveals nothing worth finding. You are strength, you are hero, you are warrior and art. You are a sky wrapped around worlds inside a still beating heart. There's been uniqueness within you since this life began, so breathe life into the world as only you can.
Thank you, Nathan. And if you want to contact him, I will have a bunch of contact information down below in the description. So please do not hesitate to reach out to him and get in touch. If you are looking to read something that's really short, really quick, very easy to read for the Halloween period, and also to read something a bit different, then I would definitely recommend this book. Yes, it's not going to be for everyone. Not everyone that's going to read this is going to understand completely what it's about. But what I do suggest is that you at least give it a try, and just to not really force yourself to understand about what it is all about and try to understand it. What I do recommend is that you go with it and go with the flow and enjoy the journey and enjoy all the emotions that Nathan writes on the page. So guys, that's all I had to say. Hopefully I've expressed myself properly. As I said, because this isn't a linear storybook, this is a poetry book, it was kind of difficult for me to express myself, but hopefully I've done this book justice. Please let me know if you've been encouraged to pick this book up. Let me know if you have read it, and let me know if poetry is your thing or not. So yeah, with all that out the way, all said and done, I will see you guys in my next video. Bye.